And now it's time for Music Theory at Home with Mark Grizzard.
18, 19, 20. Hey everybody, I hope you're feeling okay about resolving your leading tone chords to one, whether they are triads or seventh chords. I know that you've been careful about this tritone between scale degree 7 and scale degree 4, but before we are done with this topic, I just want to clarify that we haven't added a new tendency tone. So I'd still like to clarify the two tendency tones are, one, the leading tone, scale degree 7, that wants to resolve up when harmony is going to 1. Our second tendency tone is the chordal 7th, and that is of any chord. Any 7th chord has a chordal 7th, and therefore that chordal 7th is going to want to resolve down no matter where we are in our harmony. Scale degree 4 is something we're worried about when we have these leading tone chords, and essentially we're just worried about tritones. But we have not added a new tendency tone. Scale degree 4 is still just any old scale degree when there isn't this tug of a tritone present. So let me know if you have any questions about that. And with that, we're going to revisit cadences again and look at the bottom half of this cadence handout. Two more to go over. I know that we briefly touched on this up to this point. The first of these is a deceptive cadence. Any phrase that gets to 5, the next to last chord, but then does not go to 1, is deceptive. It sets up that expectation. We often see it on 6, but anything, 5 to 3, something that is not 1, basically messes up that desire to want to go to 1. So when we're looking at the last 2 chords of a phrase, and the next to last chord is a 5, and the last chord is not 1, you have a deceptive cadence. I found some fun memes online that describe deceptive cadences. First we see the down low too slow, right? The 5 wants that resolution, and aha. And the other famous meme here, 5 looking at 6 instead of 1. Hey, why not? That's kind of fun. Our last line of this handout is a plagal cadence. Of course, we're only looking at the last 2 Roman numerals to determine our cadence type. And when it is 4 to 1, specifically root position 4 to root position 1, that is called a plagal cadence. This is a little more rare, and we often see it in hymns. A hymn might end and then tag on a little. While that's sort of a little button of a phrase, any phrase that ends with that root position 4 to root position 1 is a plagal cadence. I didn't find any fun memes on this online, so I made one really quick. Is that a meme? I don't know. Anyway. We have one more cadence type to look at that's not on that handout because it is so niche and really not seen all that often. However, we talked about it really briefly, and your workbook is going to ask you about it. So we have to spend a little time talking about Phrygian cadences. A Phrygian cadence is a type of half cadence. It is a subset of a half cadence, and it's only under very specific circumstances. When you're in minor, and when you end on 5, like all half cadences do, but the chord before 5 is a 4 chord in first inversion, otherwise a 4/6 chord, moving to 5, then you have a Phrygian half cadence. What makes it sort of Phrygian? That's a word we know, right, from our modes. That's because it sort of has that half-step motion that starts off a Phrygian scale. That's pretty Phrygian. And when a bass line here on this example moves down by half step to a half cadence, we call that a Phrygian cadence. You're not going to see this all that often, except for possibly in SATB settings of 7 Nation Army. 4/6, moving to 5. Phrygian half cadence. I'm stuck at home, so I went ahead and recorded this.
A 7 Nation Army.
Phrygian cadence. Now you know. So we're going to get a chance to drill these 3 cadence types on your homework, 15.1. Let's take a look. So we see here in 15.1, Part 1, writing deceptive, plagal, and Phrygian cadences. Step 1 here, create SATB harmony from these Roman numerals. Write in the key signature, write in those chords according to the numerals. We know how to do that. And then when you're done, step back, take a look at your cadence handout, and determine what cadence you just created. Fill in the blanks to show what type of cadence that is. Part 1A, 2, 3, and 4. Don't worry about B. Okay, 15.1 Part 2, identifying cadences. I'm going to post the audio to these excerpts on ReggieNet and Shobi. If you're on Norton, you can just click play and Noteflight will play them for you. So identify each cadence by circling the correct label. You have these options here on the end. Please do not do the step where it asks about circling one spacing or voice leading irregularity. Not really a huge deal there. It's pretty obvious in this Bach. Look at that crossed voice. It's terrible. Johann. 15.1, Part 1A, 2, 3, 4, and 15.1, Part 2. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. I hope you guys have a great Easter weekend.
1, 2, 3,